Back before there was an entire universe of characters and lore, and before there were entire channels based around playing games, not only just Five Nights at Freddy's games, but also spin-offs, there was the original. Never actually played it. I mean, I've never played any of these games before. To be honest, they didn't really have too much appeal to me because, you know, the gameplay is simple, it's based around jump scares, but I always have had an affinity for this series in general. Just because of there's so much stuff in it. I don't even know how to describe it. Care and attention all over the place just to, you know, what is ultimately just a pretty simple Simon Says and then you get jump scared. Let's hear the phone guy.
Settled in on your first night. I actually worked in that office before you. I'm finishing up my last week now, as a matter of fact, so I know it can be a bit overwhelming, but I'm here to tell you there's nothing to worry about. You'll be fine. So let's just focus on getting you through your first week, okay? Let's see. First, there's an introductory greeting from the company that I'm supposed to read. It's kind of a legal thing, you know. Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a magical place for kids and grown-ups alike, where fantasy and fun come to life. Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for damage to property or person. Upon discovering that damage or death has occurred, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached and the carpets have been replaced. Blah, blah, blah. Now, that might sound bad, I know, but there's really nothing to worry about. The animatronic characters here do get a bit quirky at night, but do I blame them? No. If I were forced to sing those same stupid songs for 20 years and I never got a bath, I'd probably be a bit irritable at night too. So remember, these characters hold a special place in the hearts of children and we need to show them a little respect, right? Okay. So just be aware, the characters do tend to wander a bit. They're left in some kind of free roaming mode at night. Something about their servos locking up if they get turned off for too long. They used to be allowed to walk around during the day too, but then there was the bite of 87. Yeah, it's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know? Now concerning your safety, the only real risk to you as a night watchman here, if any, is the fact that these characters, if they happen to see you after hours, probably won't recognize you as a person. They'll most likely see you as a metal endoskeleton without its costume on. Now, since that's against the rules here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, they'll probably try to forcefully stuff you inside a Freddy Fazbear suit. Now, that wouldn't be so bad if the suits themselves weren't filled with cross beams, wires, and animatronic devices, especially around the facial area. So you can imagine how having your head forcibly pressed inside one of those could cause a bit of discomfort and death. The only parts you would likely see the light of day again would be your eyeballs and teeth that pop out the front of the mask. Yeah, they don't tell you these things when you sign up. But hey, first station of the breeze. I'll chat with you tomorrow. Check those cameras and remember to close the doors only if absolutely necessary. Gotta conserve power. Alright, good night.
Later, the idea that it's like, oh, they think you're an endoskeleton. Boy, later games really just completely threw that out. So much more of a ghost story it ended up being. But I mean, even the seeds were here with the whole like hallucinations, of which I haven't gotten any yet. But looking around, if I can get killed by Golden Freddy. Despite the fact that I've never played this game, that doesn't mean that I don't know basically everything about it. And I said Simon Says, it's really more of like a, remember like old toy Bop It, where it's like, it's not so much that you're gonna get faked out or anything. It's just there's a process that you gotta do to survive each night and execute it correctly. Keep yourself open to screwing up. And I mean, it's simple in that way, where it's like you wanna do as little as possible while also making sure that you're not going to get the big old scream in your face. Of course, I think on the night one, it's like it's usually, at least in these games, it's not like there's really too much threat at all. So basically, just sit back and relax. Don't stare directly at the fan. So I thought that it's like, in later games they have like the thing that if you press the nose, it squeaks. Whatever. I did that exact same thing in like a World of Horror recently. But yeah, the gameplay is simple. It does have still a pretty tense atmosphere and everything. And I remember back when this came out in like 2014, it's like people were down with it. Needless to say that it's like there perhaps has been quite a bit of fatigue since there have been like 20 games that have come out in the last 5 years. But I don't know. Like I said, I still got an affinity. There's so much like care and attention that's put into making at least what the fans want, making a halfway decent product, even if there is like a lot of games that just are, even if there is like maybe a little bit of a level of cash grab in there. It's a sort of thing that it's hey, it's sort of thing that it's like, if you're gonna do a cash grab, at least do it right, you know? It's supposed to be like some sort of movie of Five Nights at Freddy's coming out at some point in time. I guess it would be interesting to see how they adapted this into a like 90-minute. I mean, it's supposed to be Blumhouse, and that's kind of their whole thing, so I suppose not that unusual. But still, it's like to think that something like this, check the cameras, don't run out of power, shut the door when you see something. It's a little bit more complicated, but really not too much. It is a franchise. Yeah, it's never something I was particularly interested in for the gameplay. In fact, from what I've seen of other people playing the games, like usually there's a level of maybe like, hey, let's just kind of skip out on this sort of stuff, especially like the first night, because it's just this for now. And then you see like all the fan games and even subsequent games in the series, especially like Five Nights at Freddy's 2, adding in a whole bunch of new mechanics like the music box and, masks and flashing lights and stuff like that. And I do think it kind of highlights the fact that ultimately what you get with gameplay when it comes to this game is simple. And it's not like, making it more complex doesn't necessarily make it better. It just makes it more complex, more frustrating to play in some ways. And when you're actually trying to put it on like maximum difficulty for everything, it just becomes annoying to try and do. Well, Scott Cawthon originally making like a bunch of sort of like a cutesy Christian themed games or something prior to this, but everybody told him that all his models were pretty creepy looking, so he's like, screw it, I'll make a horror game then. It's cool. And you would expect this sort of thing to be completely one-off, never seen again, all that sort of thing. But it's like, of course. Okay, fine then. But it's like, of course, the actual history had this turning into, God, like one of the biggest successes of indie games in the past few years. Certainly there have been a few. Think about your like Baldi's Basics, your Hello Neighbors, your Bendy and the Ink Machine, which I'm probably going to be playing after this, let's be honest, because it has a free because it has a free demo. It's like, it's so many of those things, but I feel like, especially Five Nights at Freddy's, it's just the care and attention, and even if it might be the occasional rush out the door thing, still being quite the crowd pleaser, it's like, it just puts it heads and shoulders above the rest. That said, I think the game itself is kind of boring, and I'm not really all that. I'm too jaded to even be somewhat perturbed by jump scares at this point. You might get a little bit of shock, and that's about it. All right, night 2. It's really picking up, boys. Not really. But slightly. Like a little bit. Here, phone guy, got something to say? Never see you into that kitchen. That's where they keep the puppet, I guess. I don't know.
Hello? Hello? Well, if you're hearing this and you made it to day 2, congrats. I won't talk quite as long this time since Freddy and his friends tend to become more active as the week progresses. It might be a good idea to peek at those cameras while I talk, just to make sure everyone's in their proper place, you know. Interestingly enough, Freddy himself doesn't come off stage very often. I've heard he becomes a lot more active in the dark, though, so hey, I guess that's one more reason not to run out of power, right? I also want to emphasize the importance of using your door lights. There are blind spots in your camera views, and those blind spots happen to be right outside your doors. So if you can't find something or someone on your cameras, be sure to check the door light. You might only have a few seconds to react. Not that you would be in any danger, of course. I'm not implying that. Also, check on the curtain in Pirate Cove from time to time. The character in there seems unique in that he becomes more active if the cameras remain off for long periods of time. I guess he doesn't like being watched. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure you have everything under control. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, I think that the original intent was to have Freddy not even come out at any point unless you ran out of power. Of course, that actually that changed for the official game here, but like still, it was it's certainly an interesting choice to have it be like the titular character. He's the least active of them. Foxy is the one that's supposed to be the most difficult to actually deal with, but they don't appear for a couple nights or something. I don't really remember exactly how this works. In the meantime, I just gotta survive and it'll be fine. You don't even really need to look at the cameras. You can just, flash the lights occasionally. A couple seconds and, a little stinger sound there. It's like, oh boy. But really, you got plenty of time. Wants you to think it's a lot more intense than it actually is. Sometimes the psychology is more what you think rather than what the game is actually trying to present in any way. It's him. Did I ever get like that was like a big phrase in the first part of the first I want to say couple games here? Oh, it's me? But did that mean anything, or did that just mean it really he? I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like things that happened later in the series certainly didn't necessarily have any impact on what was intended for the beginning here. You never really know. Any sort of long-running thing, that's how it goes, where it's like some things get kind of pitched to the side, some things get accentuated in a pretty wacky way. Think about like Star Wars. So many characters that were just like these one-off dudes that appeared in the background, and then you find out there's an entire backstory behind the Cantina Band. And how they're like aliens who are specially evolved to make music or something like that because there's a huge lack of no? No, he's still there. It's a huge lack of imagination when it comes to that. And it's like, well, they did music, so clearly that's the only thing they ever do. Alright. I don't know what exactly the mechanic is. I also was not paying attention to Phone Guy, so, Hopefully I don't get jump scared by Foxy. I mean, he runs in here and gives you a heart attack, even though he was just trying to help, after all. I suppose I'll just see if these off camera to close that door. So like the entire shtick is that he like literally runs through the hall to you or something. Not entirely sure. Because as it is, just like I've only seen Bonnie appear twice, and that's it. And I got a hallucination. That's cool, right? Hey guys, that's cool. Maybe I'll get to see Golden Freddy, and then I'll put that as a thumbnail because it's 2015. And everybody's gonna love it. I do like the idea of going back to like what is, you know, clear. Like back in the day, certainly like stream bait, and then suddenly, okay. Then like years and years later, I seriously considered doing something with Baldi's Basics when that was in its like peak popularity meme status, just because I think that game is so ridiculously stupid in how it's presented and everything that it's like I love the idea. Ah, you got me. I think that game is so ridiculously stupid in how it's presented and everything that it's like there's definitely a lot of fun stuff to talk about with that, but it's also like, you know, it is very it was played out even at the time. No options here, only full screen, only everything. Too worried about Foxy there. That's what happens. And again, it's not like I was really planning for this one to be a particularly long series or anything. It was just the one thing where you go in and you talk, basically just talk about like memery games. I like that. I like memery games, and I like seeing that sort of stuff there, as long as they're not multiplayer. Oh God, please no multiplayer games. Certainly I've never really been one to jump on too many bandwagons aside from Baba Is You, really. Aside from like Baba Is You, really, but it's like, maybe I should. Just because I do think it is fun to get in on that zeitgeist when it does appear. Like it is a weird thing to capture that, especially with a game like this, which only takes, you know, like 20 minutes to play. But still, at the same time, it's also like, this is the gameplay, everybody. And I really don't even need to be looking around the cameras. I'm just doing so to try to have something to do. Not that I care too much about Mike Schmidt's, you know, livelihood regardless. People thought originally that this was supposed to be like a dystopian like Blade Runner scenario or something with robots, and the fact that you're only making like $2 an hour or something. Frankly, it doesn't make too much of a difference. Look, Mike's getting paid, and that's the only thing that matters. In the meantime, yeah, okay. They snuck up on me there. But again, never actually played the game, only watched people play the game. So I don't know if I was missing something that like the super pros would know a little bit better. Of which there are strats here. Figure out how the game is programmed. It's just like, oh, you got to keep the camera on the Foxman all the time, and that will prevent him from jump scaring you. Or, like, you got to check left, right, because that prevents things from spawning in that particular area. That said, I certainly don't know it. Look, if you're looking for somebody who's going to be doing 50-20 mode, you've come to the wrong place. This is just me spitballing because I did a theme month that I didn't really think about too much before starting it up. Nope, not at all. Not even a little bit. And in fact, I've just kind of been flying by the seat of my pants this entire time here when it comes to actually figuring out what games I'm even playing. If you think even for a second that I had any of this planned out, it's like, no. It was the day before. People said, hey, it's midnight. Shouldn't you be doing like spooky games or something? And I'm like, it's not midnight here. And they're like, yeah, but like do it though. And I'm like, okay, what do you want to see? And they gave me Vanish. Which is, you know, that was a game. I'll never forget Hank and the other guys' saga of finding monsters that are peeing in the wacky super sewers. Never ever, certainly. I try to at least you know, I don't really think there's ever been a game that I played for the channel here that I've, like, forgotten. And ones that people might not think about all that much, like Grease or, I don't know, and like Environmental Station Alpha. Did a whole Noita series. Hollow Knight, because people continue to suggest me that. It's like, no, I still remember everything that happened in those games. Yeah. Looking good. Can I at least get to night 3 before we end this one? Because like I said, it's not a long game either way. You know, like custom mode and... Does this one have like the special 6-night sort of thing, or was that like a later game thing? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. And it's one of those things. It's always that increase of scope in a game where there's like where you get stuff like 5 nights, and then 5 nights 2. It's like, oh, there's actually like 12 nights. And, you know, Dr. Wily Castle, as well as the fake Dr. Wily Castle, taking up roughly half the game at that point. That's ridiculous. It's like, why even, like, what's even the deal, you know? Of course, it's, I don't know, with Mega Man especially, speaking of robot-based video games that are definitely not horror, it's like there is the whole feeling of I prefer the beginning bits where it's like you get your 8 robot masters. I love the idea of being able to choose where you're going. I'm usually not one for open world games, but I do like a game that at least lets you make your choice of like stages, especially, and you get a choice from 8 of them. So then when like later games and remakes started to put in intro stages every single time you started up the game, and then, you know, the endings, which are all very linear, started to become more and more of a thing over time. It's like, that was disappointing to me. It's like you had simple stage-based stuff, and you got all 8 of your stages, and tackling them in different orders makes them different. It's like suddenly you want it to be a way more you want to put the really super simple, boring first stage every single time I start up the game rather than letting me choose. It's like, why? Why would you do that? If I could at least like choose where I was going in the Wily Castle, that would be one thing. But nah, you're fighting the Yellow Devil, then you're fighting the copy robot. And it was that one super forgettable like security robot, whatever that was, and then it's Wily. Yeah, there's the Robot Master refights, but you know. I don't know if that's really like a super notable part of the... There's Foxy. I don't know if that's like a super notable part of the first game, especially considering how janky it was in there. Didn't have the nice teleport pads you could easily go to and everything like that. No. It was all about like other weird things that were placed in there. It was just like, I think it was literally an elevator instead, which is not quite the same thing, to say the least. There's Foxums. Still being foxy. I'll at least ask, you know, people that are big fans of the game. They'll tell you that Foxy is most definitely Foxy. Nobody's going to argue on that point. Alright, am I actually going to complete this one this time? Then what? Should I go for day 3 and do the... See if I don't get yump scared? I suppose I probably should. Oh boy. Oh no, it's still him. Oh, so close that too. I got plenty of power left. It really he. It's the Fredbear himself. Well, here, whatever. Feeling fine. Golden Freddy, originally called Yellow Bear. Just something Scott threw in for no reason. I like that idea. Just, hey, I got an idea, I'm going to do it. How much sense does it make? Who cares? Doesn't matter, that's what. What's going on, phone guy? Just talking about Mega Man with my non-existent chat this time.
Hello. Hey, you're doing great. Most people don't last this long. I mean, you know, they usually move on to other things by now. I'm not implying that they died. That's not what I meant. Anyway, I better not take up too much of your time. Things are getting real tonight. Hey, listen, I had an idea. If you happen to get caught and want to avoid getting stuffed into a Freddy suit, try playing dead. You know, go limp. Then there's a chance that maybe they'll think that you're an empty costume instead. Then again, if they think you're an empty costume, they might try to stuff a mental skeleton into you. I wonder how that would work. Yeah, never mind. Scratch that. It's best just not to get caught. Okay, I'll leave you to it. See you on the flip side.
The flip side is death, because there's no way I'm going to make it past third night. This, I assume, is the point in time that requires you to actually, you know how to play the game, of which I've been too busy talking about Mega Man to realize that. I mean, I do know you're supposed to use the lights, right? That's a thing. There we go. Can I check to see? No. Just get that musical sting, and that's about it. Yep, and then we're good. I didn't get wacky jump scared by the giant chicken character. Well, I know there was supposed to be another game coming out of this, like, soonish. Kind of a follow-up to the VR dealio, but I do not know if that was coming out soon or something. I was considering it here, but then I thought, you know what, let's just go back to the classic. Like I said, this is your Star Wars before it became known as A New Hope. This is the point where it's like, all you gotta do is you just, you're in this evil pizzeria, characters think you're an exoskeleton, etc., and so on. You try not to die, and if you do die, don't make too much of a mess. And I do think that there's something to be said about that, sure. Where it's like, hey, there's a simpler time, an easier sort of world to understand. Or you had to understand everything about the backstory of the characters and and their motivations and everything. And the fact and they're actually being characters and not just somebody colloquially referred to as phone guy. Okay, fine then. I suppose I shouldn't do that. Will you get out of there already? I guess you can't actually see outside that window then. Nope. You know, I only got so much power after all. Yeah, okay. Looking good. I'm about to get jump scared by Foxy. Nope. Okay, never mind then. Well, I thought it was going to happen. To be fair, because it's like the thing cut out, I don't really know how this works. Again, did not actually pay attention to any of the tutorials, because whatever, man. Look, do you think I care if I'm going to leave this job at the end of the week? I'm going to go do something else that doesn't get me killed by robots. That's usually the plan that I think that most characters in the FNAF universe have, right? Like, all I gotta do is survive 1 week, and then I get that sweet paycheck, and then I'm out of here. That sweet, terrible paycheck. And you're done. That's basically the exact same thing that I'm doing right now. It is just unfortunate that I do not have any, like, bear snouts to bop or something. I was really looking forward to that. All I get is the little 3D cup. It looks like a barbershop pole. Which I guess is okay. But it's not really the sort of thing that I would be hoping for when it comes to decorum in a job like this. Now, either way, I suppose it doesn't really matter too much when I am about to get jump scared, after all. As one does. Still not seen hide nor hair of Freddy, though, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. Okay. So that's what we're doing, eh? Luigi? Yeah, okay. Yep, still looking good. Feeling fine. Ah, well. Or maybe I'm actually going to be able to finish this one. Maybe I'm more of a pro at this than I thought. Well, I already got jump scared once, so it's like, you know, what are you gonna say? Like, oh, no, yeah, I'm doing, like, super good. Also, I'm, like, running out of power a lot, too, which might be an entire thing unto itself, but I'm still, it'll be fine. It'll be totally fine. Look, trust me, there's more security guards than this guy, all ready to line up, get killed, as one does. Come on. Aside from Chica, it's like, despite the fact that Bonnie was the only one that's actually jump scared me so far, sure seen a lot more Chica though. Whatever. I suppose it doesn't really matter too much now, does it? Come on. Get out of there, you. I'm busy. I'm busy doing my work. At least watch TV or something. I mean, I'm guessing that's probably not one of those ones that's actually, like, usable. But what if it was? I assume that if you are... I don't actually know how, like, night guard stuff goes for the most part. It's like, do you usually just, like, watch TV, being on your phone, I suppose, these days? Like, I mean, why wouldn't you be? I guess you still have to be, like, diligent, but, you know... How diligent do they really expect you to be, I suppose, is the question. Really. Yeah, should be fine. Look, just go or not. I don't care. Whichever one you want to do. I don't actually know exactly how this works. I know he's going to try to come running to the door, and you usually hear like a thump when it happened. So, yeah. Either way, I'm at 5 a.m. I'm just about to finish this up here, so like, do it or don't. I'm about to get Freddy'd, if you don't mind. If you would. I feel like this is a fitting way to end the video, right? win or lose. There you go. All right. Well, yeah, that's Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, it is this game.